are very, very, very smart. And America 4%, make sure say, on mine now, one more, I build this, on mine, a year, Juma. And you know, one more ever far to say, yeah, no, Ghana. Reason why I'm the American lottery buy and they say, so that, yeah, you ever buy no matter year, Juma. I'm a woman. That is the whole idea. It's not about, say, one more, the idea is, we will come here, immigrants, we will come and work for one. Now we will chrono ADA because there's a Jumebua, one hour ya American for no. They are too lazy to do it. But the yen we have baby. Intina one the American lottery at the bar African countries say ye beba ni ababe yes kuntum juma no said no. Intino it's something now one more year. Ediama or mine or mine ye. One more day, and yes, one more babuayo. They are doing it for their country. And America full be bresum power. Into yan yaba, near Baba wo. Ebe wuswa and Palano, most woman call no mata chrono. Now woman mine into because woman them say a hot war and a woman do a year of mine. A hot war near the woman bobra. And that is how smart Americans here. They think ahead of time. They don't wait to say in Yama be baba beto wa musu ansana. Intino say we need we are American lottery bina we near. That is what you are coming here to do.
Green Card Lottery was originally for white immigrants every year. Up to 50,000 people around the world are selected for the United States Diversity Visa Lottery, out of around 14 million applicants. Yet despite its name, the lottery wasn't originally intended to promote cultural and racial diversity in the U.S. back when Congress introduced it in 1986. The goal was to ease immigration for Irish and Italian immigrants. At the time, many Irish applicants didn't have the right job skills or close enough relatives in the U.S., such as a sister, rather than an aunt, in order to immigrate. Though many Italians did have close relatives in the U.S., there was a huge backlog in applications that stalled the ease with which Italians had previously been able to enter the country. The reason Congress sold this lottery as a diversity initiative was because it's not going to be politically feasible to tell people, "We have created a new visa for people who have no close family relationships in the U.S. and no job skills." There's a multiculturalism movement going on. So the creators of this program sort of wrapped themselves around the diversity language of it. To understand the full context of the lottery, we have to go back to 1965, when the U.S. conducted the last major structural overhaul of our immigration system. That year, a new immigration law ended a decades-long quota system that had given preference to Europeans over other immigrants. In its place, the law allowed every country to send up to 20,000 immigrants to the U.S. per year. That doesn't mean that every country got to send that many. With the new law, the U.S. began evaluating applicants based on whether they had relatives in the U.S., certain job skills, or refugee status, and turning away people who didn't meet the criteria. In addition, Western and Eastern hemispheres had immigration caps of 120,000 and 170,000, respectively, to limit overall immigration. According to Citizenship and Immigration Services, the U.S. currently does not issue more than 7% of the total allowable visas to one nation. This caused a very significant demographic shift of the stream of immigrants, law says, which the framers did not anticipate. Before the 1965 Act, most visas went to Europeans. In particular, Irish and Italian immigration was fairly unrestricted. But in the decades after the law's passage, more immigrants began to come from Asia and Latin America. And Irish and Italians found it harder to legally immigrate than ever before. During the 1980s, Irish and Italian American groups successfully lobbied Congress to change immigration policies so they would be more favorable to these nations. At the time, Ireland's economy was in crisis, and many Irish immigrants were staying in the U.S. after their tourist visas had expired, meaning that they were living as undocumented immigrants. Rather than deporting these undocumented immigrants, Irish and Italian-American congressmen offered a 1986 lottery system to provide more visas to countries that had not been able to use more than 25% of their allotted 20,000 annual visas. Those countries go on a list of adversely affected, and only the people from those countries can apply for the lottery. Very tellingly, the first 3 years of the visa lottery, 40% of the visas are reserved for Ireland. By the mid-1990s, Irish and Italians weren't as interested in immigrating to the US anymore because the Irish economy had picked up and the European Union had opened up movement within the continent. After that, the disingenuously named diversity system actually started to become more diverse. Europeans still make up a significant portion of the lottery recipients, yet today the majority of lottery visas go to residents of African countries. There have always been a handful of countries from which the majority of immigrants to the United States come. And Congress established the diversity visa program to increase the number of immigrants from smaller countries and countries that don't send many immigrants to the United States. The diversity visa is administered primarily by the U.S. State Department. The State Department runs the lottery and selects and notifies the winners. Over 95% of immigrants who win the green card lottery go through the State Department to get their green cards, as most of them are living outside the United States when they win the diversity visa lottery. Just because the diversity visa exists now doesn't mean that it isn't subject to change. Several past and current immigration reform bills in Congress would eliminate the program entirely, though for now, none of these proposals have been enacted yet. But it's possible that this system won't last forever. After a truck attack in New York City on October 31, 2017, President Donald Trump called for a complete end to the lottery, citing the fact that the attacker, who killed 8 people and injured 12 others, won the lottery and immigrated from Uzbekistan. Overall, the U.S. accepts around 500,000 new documented immigrants each year, and renews the visas of about 500,000 more. Because of this, ending a lottery system that awards up to 50,000 visas per year won't actually make a huge dent in immigration to the United States. Who is eligible for the diversity visa? In order to qualify for the diversity visa, you must have been born in a country that sent less than 50,000 immigrants to the United States over the past 5 years. There is some yearly variation in the countries that are eligible, but Canada, China, India, Mexico, and the United Kingdom never make the list, because these countries all send a large number of immigrants to the United States. If your native country is not eligible, there are still 2 ways you could qualify for the diversity visa. If your spouse was born in an eligible country, you can apply with your spouse and choose your spouse's birth country on your application. If neither of your parents were legal residents in your own country of birth, you can choose your mother or father's country of birth. Education. The second major requirement for diversity visa applicants is that you must have at least a high school degree, or at least 2 years of work experience within the past 5 years in a profession that requires at least 2 years of training, as determined by the U.S. Department of Labor. If you're selected in the green card lottery, you and your family members will have to meet the same requirements as any other U.S. green card applicant. Certain types of criminal records could make you ineligible for a green card. There are also some medical conditions that could make it difficult or impossible to get a green card. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, you could still apply for the diversity visa lottery. However, there's little advantage to doing so, since you will almost always be able to come to the United States sooner by applying for a marriage-based green card instead. If you have another family member who could sponsor your green card, it might still be worthwhile to apply for the diversity visa lottery. Some family-based immigration categories, for example, siblings of U.S. citizens, take a very long time, and you would be able to come to the United States much sooner if you won the diversity visa lottery. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, you could still apply for the diversity visa lottery. However, there's little advantage to doing so, since you will almost always be able to come to the United States sooner by applying for a marriage-based green card instead. If you have another family member who could sponsor your green card, it might still be worthwhile to apply for the diversity visa lottery. Some family-based immigration categories, for example, siblings of U.S. citizens, take a very long time. And you would be able to come to the United States much sooner if you won the diversity visa lottery. The winners of the diversity visa lottery are chosen at random by a computer program, with a certain number of visas allocated to each region of the world and no one country receiving more than 7% of the diversity visas available in any given year. Although the exact dates vary, people who have entered the diversity visa lottery can check the status of their application beginning in early May the year following their application, by using the entrant status check link on the diversity visa webpage. This is why it's so important to save that confirmation number. Without it, you won't be able to see if you've been selected or not. What happens if you're selected in the green card lottery? It's important to act fast. Even though it could still be a year or more before you're able to come to the United States. There are 2 reasons to act immediately. First of all, your application must be processed and your visa must be issued by the end of the fiscal year for which you were selected. Second, there are more people selected for the diversity visa than there are visas available, and if you wait until the last minute there might not be any visas left. When you're notified that you won the diversity visa, you'll get a numerical rank which will tell you when you can apply for your visa. Towards the end of July, you can check the State Department's visa bulletin to see when you can submit your application. The first visas are available on October 1st, the first day of the U.S. government's fiscal year, and you can submit your application up to 90 days ahead of time. If you're outside the United States, the vast majority of people who are selected for the diversity visa aren't in the United States, and will apply for a green card through the U.S. consulate in their home country. As soon as you see that there is a visa available, you should submit Form DS-260 with a National Visa Center. Once your application is processed, it will be forwarded to the U.S. consulate, which will schedule a visa interview. If you meet all the requirements, you'll be approved for your immigrant visa at the interview. If you're in the United States in a temporary immigration status, technically known as non-immigrant status, when you win the diversity visa lottery, you'll apply for a green card through United States Citizenship and Immigration Services (USCIS) by filing Form I-485. You should submit your application as soon as a visa becomes available based on the visa bulletin. Avoiding scams. Unfortunately, the diversity visa program is sometimes abused by scammers as a way to defraud hopeful immigrants. Here are a couple of tips to avoid common scams related to the diversity visa. Entering the diversity visa lottery is free. Anyone claiming to collect a fee on the Department of State's behalf is scamming aspiring immigrants. The Department of State does not notify winners either by mail or by email. The only way to know if you've been selected is to check your application using entrant status check. Entering the diversity visa lottery is like entering any other lottery. The odds of winning aren't high, but if you're lucky, it can be a way to come to the United States even if you don't have any family or employment contacts. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, though, applying for a marriage green card is almost certainly the better option.